Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanessa if you are new here. Now, I went ahead and I decided that I was going to face one of my biggest fears, which is seeing movies in the movie theater and go and see the movie Sound of Freedom. Now, if I'm going to be entirely honest with you all, this may just be like me living under a rock, but I had not heard about this movie. Now, I am in Catholic media, Catholic social media. I engage with it on a regular basis, but I heard very little about this movie, especially for someone who is in Catholic media. The only reason why I even had an inkling of notice of this movie is because my mother is like a hardcore liker of stuff on the internet, and she saw that this movie was kind of being hidden from the public, and she brought it to my attention. And because she brought it to my attention, I started seeing more of it on my feed, where prior when the name came up, I just kind of kept scrolling because I'm not into watching anything that media really puts out. I don't watch movies, I don't watch TV. I honestly, on my TikTok, all it is bodybuilding stuff. So I don't really engage with much of like mainstream media, and little did I know it wasn't mainstream media. It was so not mainstream media that not even mainstream media would cover it. So this got me a little bit interested, so I took it upon myself to go see the movie, and it stars Jim Caviezel, and I love Jim Caviezel when he plays Jesus Christ in The Passion of the Christ, so I had to go see this movie. So if you're not aware of this movie, it is called The Sound of Freedom, and it was released on July 4th of this year, 2023. Now, let me just give you some things about the movie. I'm not going to spoil the movie whatsoever, but I'm going to provide you with like a bit of information just in case you're interested in seeing the movie. And then following this, I'll give you guys some of my, not feedback, but some of my insights about the movie that I think would be beneficial to you if you are wondering about if I want to see the movie or not. But like I said, I don't want to do any spoilers. So because of this, I am going to be holding my tongue a little bit in this discussion. This movie is rated PG-13. This movie is around 2 hours and 10 minutes long. This movie is distributed by Angel Studios and was produced by Eduardo Versace, which I'm probably saying his name totally wrong, and Alejandro Monteverde. Monteverde. I'm saying that wrong too. So in this movie, we follow the journey of a man named Tim Ballard, who is played by Jim Caviezel. So Tim Ballard is a federal agent who embarks on a dangerous mission after rescuing a young boy from child trafficking. Upon saving this young boy from child trafficking, he comes to learn that the young boy's sister is still a victim of child trafficking and that she is still out there. So he decides to quit his job and pursue the quest to save this little girl from child trafficking. So that's as brief of a synopsis that I can give for this movie. I will have the trailer linked down below so that you could check it out for yourself. Now, let's get into some things about the movie, some of my insights about the movie, and whether or not I think that you should see the movie. Do I suggest that you see this movie? Yes. I really truly believe that this movie is one that should be seen at least once by everyone because it's very eye-opening. It allows for us to understand and kind of almost like fully grasp, not even fully grasp because you can't fully grasp it, but understand it to a deeper emphasis of what is occurring not only in our country but in other countries, or not only in other countries but in our country of the United States. The disgusting thing that is happening to our children, that our children are being preyed upon by individuals, and some of these individuals are being protected by media or protected by other evildoers. And so this movie really creates the conversation. It make or like fuels the conversation. It has us talking about it. Now, I don't know if you will like agree if this movie was like amazingly well made and it's one of the best movies. I've heard a lot of people say like this movie like deserves all these awards, where other people are saying like this movie is not as like substantial as like they thought it was going to be. So you may have mixed feelings about the production quality of this movie and if the story was told right, but the positive about seeing this movie is that it has like skyrocketed in sales. It's like over like it sold more than I believe Indiana Jones did in the first weekend or the first week of July 4th. And so this has people talking. It's putting it in the face of the people that don't want you to see that this is actually going on. And like the fact that mainstream media has not talked about this movie at all kind of rattling, because this means that they see that either they're trying to say that it's not important what's going on to these children, or they're trying to keep it on the down low so that we don't know what's happening to these children and that we're not talking about it. It's like abortion. Abortion is going on right now, and we don't really talk about it as much as we should as a society, that children are being, or babies are being murdered every single day, and we don't talk about it because it's ugly, because we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to think about it. And so watching a movie like this and making sure that it's like hitting these sales, making sure that it's being talked about and shared with people, is having the conversation or creating the conversation or keeping the conversation going, because it's so important for us to recognize that there are victims out there that need prayers. They need funding to help save these victims. And we really need to take a stand and, like, as a world, and say, this is horrible. We need to do everything in our power to make sure that this is something that stops and this is something that does not continue. As I was watching the movie, I kept thinking to myself, thank God I'm 25. Like, thank God I survived being a child, because there's so many groups of people that prey upon our children. Like, I can think back to so many times in my life of certain instances that nothing bad occurred, but something bad could have occurred. Like, for example, one time I was playing out in the front yard of my home, and my parents were always like very adamant about watching us. Like, they never took their eyes off us. But it was this one time that occurred that my parents took their eyes off us. I was in the driveway. I lived nowhere near the freeway, but I mean, California's always near freeways, but it was a few miles from the freeway where my house was. I was standing in my driveway, and I was probably like 3 or 4, and my dad was in the garage, but I guess he went inside to do something. And as I'm in the driveway, this random car pulls up, and this man rolls down his window, and he proceeds to ask me, where is the freeway? And I don't know where the freeway is. I'm a 3 or 4 year old little girl. I don't know where the freeway is. And I go, I don't know where the freeway is. And he kept asking me, where's the freeway? And at this moment, I don't think that anyone is like evil. Why would this man be evil? He just wants to know where the freeway is. He proceeds to ask me where the freeway is. And I'm like, I think it's this way. I don't know. And he opens up his car door to invite me into his car so that I could direct him to the freeway. And then I just remember soon after my dad running out or something, or yelling at him, and that's the most of my memory of that instance. Then there was another instance where I was walking, and this random man grabbed my hand, and I grabbed his hand thinking he was my father, and because every big person kind of looks like my dad when you are like 3 or 4 or 5. And I went walking with this individual, and it wasn't until my parents like came and grabbed me and was like, what's going on? And the man's like, oh my gosh, I thought you were my daughter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought you were my dad. And so turns out I think he did actually like misplace his daughter. It was like at a carnival, but that could have gone totally south very quickly. And then there was another time, I didn't remember this, but my dad told me, we were walking, and I'm always like talkative to people, and this man opened up the door to this restaurant, which I thought was a restaurant. Turns out it was a bar. And I was like, thank you, kind sir. And I went walking inside, and my dad like cussed this guy out. I don't even he told me the story, so I can't rehash the story to you. But there's so many occurrences where, and this was like in the 2000s. So this is like prior to like internet being like this like crazy thing that everyone had access to. Like internet's like, if you walk into places that have Wi-Fi, you like, that's absurd. Like, what are we in the like 1900s or whatever it may be? Like, internet is like of the masses right now. Everyone has a little computer in their phone. And so this is like pre that. So I'm just thinking now how easy it is for these predators to access our children. And the fact that children are being groomed to think that it's okay to like walk around and like be like hot when they're 4 years old. And we see this in our movies. We see this in like Disney Channel. We see this in the way that they add like sexual like innuendo. I can use the word sexual things into our children's movies, and we're kind of like, that's funny, or like whatever, that's like that one group. But like we're making it okay to prey upon our children, and it needs to stop now. Like, I asked my mom after the movie, and I thought, like, okay, mom, like, I watched this movie, but this is taking place in Colombia. It's taking place in like other countries, or it's taking place on the down low in the United States. Like, what am I supposed to do? What is Vanessa supposed to do to stop this? I said, I mean, I could share the movie, but like, you're gonna watch it once and forget about it. You know, like, what am I supposed to do about this? And then I started thinking about it. We need to put our foot down against this grooming of our children and understand that it's not okay for us to make our children like on display, and that we need to start recognizing that there are these people preying upon our children, and we need to just take a stand in whatever way that may be. Because honestly, I don't know. I don't have kids. I don't have kids right now. I don't even know the name of a boy. So I don't see having kids anywhere in my near future at the moment. But I don't know what I would do at this moment in my life if I did have children. But it's just so concerning that there isn't concern about this, you know? And I was just, right now I'm thinking, I'm like all over the place, but right now I'm thinking, there is a way of the culture grooming us to kind of like not think it's important that this is going on. And one way that they're doing this is the fact that we don't even value life like at conception. The fact that we think it's okay to murder a baby in the womb just like says it all. Like, if we can't value that life, why are we going to value any other life other than our own? Like, if we live in a world where there's no consequences, or if we live in a world where it's like, it's me first and you guys are all second, my problem is your problem. You're like, I don't want to, like, you have to deal with things that I'm like, if we like live in a world where it's just like so narcissist and so like about my own self, then why would we even take concern over what's happening in other countries or what's happening to other people? And so the world has kind of groomed us. Like, society has kind of groomed us to like only care about ourselves, only care about our immediate family, and if it's not affecting us, then it doesn't actually exist. And so I think that we need to now, just like when it comes to the child trafficking thing, but also when it comes to abortion, when it comes to anything that's not for the common good, I think that we as a society need to put our foot down and stand against it. If it's not for the common good, if it's not for glorifying the Lord, if it's leading us astray from God, we need to put our foot down and stand against it. Like, for instance, in movies, it would be like, I think like in the Alfred Hitchcock movies, like he tried like getting away with like having, like, there were rules back in the day where both men and women had to have their feet on the floor. Like, they could sit, like, and so he would like break that rule by like having them sit on the bed or something. I don't even know, but like in the past, it would be inappropriate if both men and women didn't have their feet on the floor, at least at all moments. So like they couldn't do any scenes in the bed. And so now we like literally have like pornography in everyday movies. We have rated MA TV shows, rated MA movies. Like, rated R was crazy to me when I was younger. And now I'm like checking. I'm like, okay, it's rated R. It's okay for me to watch because like MA is like now the new rated R. And that like we are okay with people making out or like dressing naked in movies, and we're okay with that. And that's because society has made us think it's okay. We're not even like 50 years ago, it was wrong to have men and women not have both feet on the floor if they're in a scene together. It's just so bizarre. And so we have kind of just desensitized ourselves. We have kind of told ourselves, like, oh, that's not important, or oh, that's just one person doing that, or it's just one TV show doing that, or it's just that. Like, we're making it okay. When is it not going to not be okay? Like, how far can we push it where it's not okay? Now, I'm going all over the place, but I suffered with a disordered eating like about the last year. I've gained like 30 pounds, so maybe I look a little different to you guys. But I suffered with disordered eating, and one thing I would do, and this is gonna hopefully tie back in, but one thing I would do is if I would serve my, I would like meal prep, and I would serve myself yogurts, and so one serving of yogurt is 170 grams. So one day I would put 170 grams, and then the next day I put maybe 150 grams. And then I'm like, okay, yesterday I did 150. So even though the serving is 170 and I had intention of doing 170, but one day I did 150. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'll do 130. What's 10 more grams? I'll do 120. And pretty soon I came to a serving of yogurt that wasn't even a serving of yogurt. It was like literally a little bit, because each day I took a little bit off. And I was like, no, it's okay. No, it's okay. Tomorrow I'll fix it. Tomorrow I'll fix it. You know, tomorrow I'll eat more. Tomorrow I'll serve myself 170. I'll have 100 grams today. And pretty soon I was basically eating nothing. And that was just me with my disordered eating. But that is kind of like what we are doing in our world. We're going like, oh, it's okay if you make that little sin. Oh, it's okay. It's just today. It's not tomorrow. It's like, we'll fix it tomorrow. And you never end up fixing it. And it just gets worse and worse, or things get looser and looser, and there's no structure, there's no rules. I mean, like, look at what the like early church looked like, and then look at like what people practice in, not that the church is teaching this, but like look at some Catholic churches today. They are like not teaching at all what the Catholic Church teaches. They're not affirming at all what the Catholic Church teaches. They're teaching gay ideologies, they're teaching abortion's okay, and there's some Protestant churches that are, I mean, a lot of Protestant churches that are doing the same. And like, I'm sure that they didn't start out wanting that, intending for that, but slowly but surely we've like made our way, and it's not even slow anymore. I mean, look at what was like some of the propositions back in 2008, and look where we are now. I remember like the propositions that happened in 2008 during that election, and we are in a totally different place now. And it's because we're like, nah, it's okay. Now we'll give them that. Now we'll give them that. You know, they say you give someone an inch, they're going to take a mile or something like that. And I know people in my life that do this, and I know that society does this. And I'm saying like society as like just the word that everyone throws around. Obviously, I don't want to, and I am guilty of it. To be honest, I'm guilty of going like, Mom, what does it matter? Just let the person live their life. Go, what does it matter? Just like, it's not going to turn into that. But it does. It always turns into that. It always ends up becoming what we thought it was going to be. I mean, look at us. Our world was shut down for 2 years. Anyways, guys, this went on an entire tangent. You guys should watch the movie. I had a bunch of questions laid out of like things I wanted to talk about, like, oh, how did I feel about Jim Caviezel playing Tim Ballard? Did I think he did a good job? Blah, blah, blah. But really, you guys should watch the movie. And you should share the movie. And we should make sure that this movie is in the faces of the people that go after our children. Like, I couldn't help myself from, like I said, during the movie, I kept thinking, thank God I am 25 years old. Thank God I'm not a kid anymore. And I kept thinking that. And the other day, one more thing. The other day, I was walking. I've moved. And I'm in a new area. And at first, I was like a little bit scared. But now I'm like getting more comfortable. And so I told my mom, stay in the car. I'm going to go into Marshall's, make this return. You don't have to worry about me. So she stayed in the car. And as I'm walking, this man, way significantly bigger than I am, but a lot of people are. I'm 5'1", and this man was walking behind me, and he starts yelling at me. And the first thing I think to myself is, that guy is not yelling at me, and even if he is, I'm not gonna let him think I know he's yelling at me. So I'm just gonna stare straight forward. There's Marshall's. He's behind me. I'm gonna keep walking. So as I'm walking, there's a car that pulls up. The guy opens the car door, and he jumps into the passenger seat. So now the driver door is open, and I'm thinking to myself, Vanessa, right now, you could get pushed into this car from the guy behind you because these men were together. And I was just like, this could be really bad. So I don't even know what happened. I don't know if I started walking faster or whatever it may be, but by the grace of God, by the blessing of God, I was able to make it into Marshall's. And as I was inside Marshall's, the person came in behind me and was following going through the store, and I just assumed that maybe they were looking for someone else. I'm okay. I'm not gonna accuse this man of following me. And then as I was in line to make my return, he saw me and he was in the foyer area, and he was just lingering in and out, in and out. But he looked like he wasn't all there. So the security said, my sir, you need to go. You can't be here anymore. And by blessing, the man was removed from the store, and no one knew the interaction that was occurring. And honestly, it could have just been me being a hypochondriac, because that's what I am. But I don't know. This totally went off on a tangent. Keep your eyes out. Share the movie. Make sure that these things just don't get glazed over. Because the thing is that we often think that, oh, it's their problem, it's not my problem. But one thing that kept coming up in the movie was this this thought, what happens if that was your kid? What would you do if it was your kid? What would you do if you were in this situation? Because everyone's just well, we can't save them all. It's what happens if that's your kid? So I'm gonna start thinking about it more and more. It's just because I'm not in this situation doesn't mean that I shouldn't have concern over the situation. Because one day I'm going, hopefully, I mean, God forbid, that one day I'm in a situation where I'm thinking to myself, please, someone just help me. And I will be hopeful that the people around me are not my problem. Also, call 911 if you see an accident on the road. I always do that because I always think if I get in an accident one day, I hope that someone else calls 911 or someone else is looking out for me. This is a weird tangent, but nonetheless, please watch the movie. I love you all. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye-bye.